Hi everyone. Today's card is a layout challenge. I'm part of a Facebook group, and once a month they do a card layout challenge, and we all submit our cards with the design that they've set out, and so I thought I would go through mine with you tonight. I've took out the Distress Oxides, the Tattered Rose and the Stormy Sky. We'll be using those in a little while. I've cut myself some strips, and this is the linen cardstock from Sentimentally Yours. And these strips are about 1/2 inch wide, and I've cut 3 of the red and 3 of the blue-grey. I've already stamped and coloured in my topper image, and this is the balloon that I stamped out from the Enchanted Blooms balloon bouquets. So it was this one, and I stamped that out and coloured that in. So that's my topper. I've already cut out my bits, so I've got my florals. Leave that to one side. So the florals that I've cut out are the Floral Finery Dotty Tips. So that's these, and you get these lovely embossed dotty tips around the front of them. So that's the florals. I've then cut out the berry sprigs. Now this is primarily a Christmas die, but I'm using that one tonight in this lovely mint green colour. So that's from the Adornments collection. And I've also cut out in white the Floral Finery Whimsy foliage. So I'm having 3 different types of foliage on this card, and they're quite a nice size die as well. And the last one is the fern. So this is the Floaty Fronds, and they're quite a nice substantial die. And they're from the Adornments collection as well. So that's those in the darker green. That's all my bits. I am going to be using a stamp for my sentiment, and this is just saying Heartfelt Sentiments, and I don't know which sentiment I'm going to have yet. So for my card base, I've cut 2 pieces, and I've cut them in the squares. Now this is the double pierced squares, and I cut the second one in, and I cut that twice, and this is what's going to make my card base. This actually measures 7 by 7. And then I cut my first matte layer, the next one in again, and this one measures 6.5 by 6.5. So that was from the double pierced squares. And then for my circle element for the center, I cut this from the Stitch Torn Circles, and I cut one of the smaller ones in the middle. So that's all the products that I've used, and I've already done all my cutting out. Now the first thing I want to do is, with my first matte layer, I'm going to pop all that to one side out of the way, and I'm going to do some splatting on this with my Distress Oxides. To splat your cardstock, you will need a fan brush. Now the bigger the fan, the smaller the splats. The smaller the fan, the bigger the splats. So we're going to use the big one for this. And all I'm going to do, I'm going to do my darkest colour first. I'm going to pop that down on my glass mat. And I'm going to spray that with about 6 sprays of water. And I'm just going to load up my brush, and all I'm going to do is splat this onto my cardstock. Now it doesn't have to be perfect. It just needs to have a few splats, just like so. And I actually used far more ink than I needed. So what I think I might do is with my white, I'm just going to run them through, get a bit of that colour on the edges, save wasting that ink. So we'll just run that one through. There we go. I don't want it all over. And then we can wipe that up. You do need to wipe off your brush or give it a little swoosh in some water. And then I'm going to do exactly the same with the tattered rose. This time I'm not, just going to move those out the way. This time I'm not going to use quite so much water, I don't think. So I'm just going to do a couple of sprays of water. Load up that brush again. And we're just going to do some flicks. That's probably as much as I want to do with that. So I'm going to give that brush a bit of a wipe off. Give all this a wipe down. And I'm taking a dry cloth and I'm just going to pop that to one side for that to dry. Now hopefully that won't take too long. You can speed it up with your heat gun if you want to. So for taking my card blanks, and I'm going to score one of these down. So just pop your edge, any edge, up to the side of the scoring board. And I'm going to score this down at 3/8 of an inch. So that's our scoring done. And then with my glue, I'm just going to go all the way along the top edge, down the sides, and along just above the crease, in the middle. And then making sure that our stitched patterns are the right way around. I'm just going to line that up. And that's our card base. So again with that, I'm just going to pop that to one side and allow that to dry. So while we're waiting for things to dry, I'm going to take in my foam mat and we'll make up our flowers. So I'm having 3 flowers on this card, one biggest one and 2 smaller ones. So take in your ball tool, turn those over and just give them a nice curl from the back, all the way up those petals. Turn that over and give that a little squish in the middle. So this cardstock that I'm using is from Chloe's, and this is the Chloe's paper pad. Sorry, my squeaky chair. This is the Creative Cards coloured papers from Chloe's, And this is the Pastel and Sorbet collection. And I just found that these papers went really well with the linen card from Sentimentally Yours, so that's why I'm using it. So just give those a little tweak. And then the last one. That's those. So for the biggest one, pop some glue in the centre. And the biggest one's going to be a 3-petal floral. So at this stage, just hold that in the middle and you can squish all these up. So that's that floral, and then the smaller two are just a 2-petal floral. There's that one. And then the last one. Rotate those petals. Give that a poke up. And that's that one. So that's the florals done. I think we will add just a tiny white pearl to the center of those. So 1, 2, 3. Again, these are the Chloe's pearls. So this is all stock that I've got that I had when I won Card Maker of the Year in 2023. I'm still using quite a bit of stuff. Right, where's that pokey tool? There. So we just pop a tiny bit of glue in the centre. Now if you want a glittery ring, pop a lot more glue than you need, and then that will squelch out and you can cover that with glitter. But that's not what I want for this card. Oh. Just use this. There we go. I think my pickup tool's had its day. I think it's lost its tackiness. Yeah. That's that one. Just going to give that one a bit of a press down. So I've done that one, done that one. There's that one. So that's those all done. Just bring back in my piece of splattered card. It's almost dry. So with the fronds, they're still wet, so we'll pop them to one side. There's our topper, and then we've got all our leaves. You know when you put things down and then you can never find it, it's so frustrating. And it's, oh, there they are. Right, so with my pokey tool, I'm just going to give these a tiny bit of shape. So there's those two. And then the ferns, I will be chopping these down, but we need to give them a tiny bit of shape. we go. So that's those with the balloon. Card ink on the back. What I thought I would do with this is with my bone folder, pop this in the palm of my hand, and I'm just gonna round this off just to give that a tiny bit of shape. That looks like it's risen. And then on the back I'm going to pop some foam pads just down the center. So if we go all the way down the center, that will hold it in place. And then when we glue this down, we can pop some extra glue on the sides. So I'm just gonna chop that one down a little bit. There we go. We'll take those off in a while. So that's that job done. That job done. We'll give them a bit of a curl up once we get to that stage. I'm just going to take back in my, and that's almost dry enough to work with. I could give that a tiny blast. Just to make sure. So on number 1, I'm just going to dry these off a little bit. I don't want to do it too much. You can tell when it's dry, that when they're not shining. And the other way to dry things off, if you've got a tiny bit, just pat a bit of clean cardstock over it. But I think that is now absolutely fine. Okay, so pop all that to one side. I'll turn that one over, and this one is going to go up on double-sided tear tape. I'm not going to have any height on this card. I think sometimes it's nice to just have flat cards, especially for posting. Postage is extortionate at the moment. It's go to post a card and it costs £3 something to post it, and it's ridiculous. And I think embellishments, especially when you put lots of embellishments on your card, because now they offer it up to the letterbox tool that they've got in the post office, and if it won't go through, then it's the next price bracket up. So I think sometimes you're better off just keeping your cards flat. My cards with lots of embellishments on I tend to be cards that I give rather than post. So with your backings, as you know, I like to fold mine halfway, and then I take off those centre backings completely. And then if we bring back in our card, just make sure we got that the right way around. Get this one nicely lined up. And And we can remove those tapes. So we've created our own background paper. A nice press from the back. There we go. Now with our strips on the layout, there were 3 strips going this way and 3 strips going in the opposite direction. So what I thought I would do is alternate these in colour. So I'd have 2 reds and a blue, and then on the bottom we're going to have 3. Actually, that needs to be more in the middle, I think. I'm going to have 3 going this way in the opposite colours. So I'm just going to glue these on. Size, which is 6.5 inches. So I think all these need to be cut down to 6.5. Get them all nicely lined up together. Let's see if we can do this in one go. So 6.5 is there. There we go. So I've gone through all the layers at 6.5. I'm all for saving time. Okay. That one looks a bit wider as well, but never mind. There's a red one. Another red one. And a blue one. I'm just going to get some glue on the back of these. So, yes, so I think roughly about there. So this one's going to go just there. Then we've got the red one. Going to go right there, and then the blue one. Oh dear. So that one roughly there. Perfect. Okay. Now with our circle, I can choose any one of these colours and I can pop some colour around the edge of the circle. So all I would do with this is just go around the edge. We've done that in the stormy sky. Oh dear. Good job I got a topper going on there. There's that one. That needs a couple of seconds to dry now. Pop that to one side. I take the backings off of my topper. The other stipulation was the topper needed to be stamped and coloured in. So I chose the balloons. All I'm going to do with this is pop some glue just around the edge. I'm going to get that one just about, which I think we can go up a little bit there. Just about there. There we go. So by putting those double-sided foam pads down the centre, that's annoying. I've got a bit of ink there, but never mind. Okay. Just make sure that's the right way around. And this one I'm going to glue down. So a nice amount of glue all around the edge. And in the middle. I'm going to get that one just about there. That's our image. And now it's just a case of putting our florals on. And I think that's the biggest one just there. That one a nice squash down and lift all these petals up. This one's going to sit slightly underneath. And this one's going to sit slightly underneath this side. So there's our 3 florals. I'm coming down, so I'm going to break that off a little bit. Pop some glue. And then underneath this one, pop our fern. Break this one down. And then this one under this side. Give them a squash down. Make sure they've grabbed. Now no, I quite like those there. I'm not going to break these down. Actually, I'm going to put this one right over this way. Just give that one a squish down. And then the other one can go. Just trying to see so that I don't cover up too much of the balloons. There's that one. lift up all those petals, get that one just there. That one a nice squash down. And then we've got our, they're nice and dry now. So we're going to give them some shape. And I think we'll most probably go in there. And down there. Okay, I'm not going to break these down either. Just going to pop some glue on the back. So where did we say we were going? I'm going to go in there. And then this one, I think, go in that space there. Or should we go, oh, decisions. I'm going to go just in there, I think. There we go. Give that one a nice squish down. There we go. So we've got our balloons. Now what I think I'm going to do, because we've got this dirty mark, I'm going to pop my sentiment across the bottom. I'm going to use white cardstock, if I can find a nice clean piece. There we go. And the sentiment that I'm going to choose, I'm going to have with lots of love for you, I think. That's pretty generic. And it can be for any occasion. So get that one nicely lined up on my mat. Put that one up. And I could use right, I'm gonna have a go at doing, I'm gonna use the Tattered Rose first. And then I'm just going to do one dab of the Stormy Sky and see what that comes out like. Hold that down for a few seconds. Ooh, I quite like that. I might try it again and see if I can do less of the grey. Be a little bit more precise about where I put the grey, I think. So if we did a bit down there, a bit up there, there you go, and then maybe a tiny bit there. See what that one looks like. Lots of love for you. Oh, lovely. So we've got two-tone sentiment, which actually I'm gonna, yeah, I'm gonna cut up on an angle that way. And try and get this as straight as possible. it's going to sit just there, but that, for some unknown reason, doesn't look straight to me. That's better. So a nice amount of glue on the back. Now this is where glue gel would come in handy, because we've got a tiny step there. But I don't tend to use glue gel anymore. So I want to press it down too hard that side. It will grab. And there is our beautiful card that we're going to enter into our monthly challenge. I don't think I'm going to put any glitter on this card. I actually quite like it without. Well, I hope you enjoyed my little video. I enjoyed making that one with you. Thank you for watching. And until the next time, bye for now.